So last week I went to the store and I found, they were out of bread, milk, eggs, and a bunch of other stuff. So I started thinking, what kind of substitutes are there for the stuff that I may need, like eggs, when you're cooking? And that got me looking up different things that can be used. So I found 4 different ingredients that might substitute for eggs. And I think we should give them a try and see if it works. Now, I normally make egg noodles. Egg noodles are simple. They're eggs and flour. So we're going to substitute 1 egg for these ingredients, and we're going to see if they actually work to make pasta. And down the road, we'll try other stuff to see if that works too. So for now, we're going to head into using these ingredients. The first thing we do is make egg pasta. There's no way to tell if the other ones work if you don't make the real thing. Followed by baking powder, oil, and a water mixture, and ground flaxseed with a little bit of warm water, and then chia seeds, also with a little bit of warm water. And then the last is going to be aquafaba, which is a liquid from canned kidney beans or garbanzo beans or whatever type of bean you like. Alrighty, so now what we're going to do is 1 tablespoon of oil, and we're going to mix in, I've already measured it out, 2 tablespoons of baking powder and 2 tablespoons of warm water. 1 and 2. Apparently they do. Next up, ground flaxseed, 1 tablespoon to 3 tablespoons of warm water. Mix it well. What I've got to do, so the same thing, we need 3 tablespoons of water, and then we got to mix it. So we're going to use the spoon and we're going to mix her up. I don't think I'm going to get it much more mixed than that, so we're going to let that sit too. With the chia seeds, we did the exact same mixture we did with the flaxseed, which is 1 tablespoon of chia seeds and 3 tablespoons of warm water, and then mix it well. But I will tell you, eventually you'll see I had to use a fork, and the chia seeds turned really thick, almost like a gooey paste. So it became a little difficult to work with. Last up is aquafaba, which is the liquid from a can of beans or chickpeas, whatever you're going to use. Now, the one thing I will tell you is, while I was draining it, it had a very strong smell. And up until we actually made noodles, it was strong, even incorporating it into the flour. So don't let that throw you off. It does hold together, but it is a strong smell. It's not like the other ones where there was little to no smell. So we did have to mix this up till it was frothy, and that was part of the instructions that I got, and that's what we did. And once we finished frothing that up, it was time to start making pasta. Okay, there you go, nice and frothy. So first up is our base pasta, which is with egg. So what I've got is 1 cup of semolina flour and 1 egg. And we're going to do a cup of flour for each of the different pastas. So this one's pretty simple. I'm going to show you how to mix this one, and the other one's meh. So we're going to crack an egg in here, into the middle, and then we're going to mix it thoroughly. Now, the dough itself, it can be a little dry, so that's what the water's for. I tend to add a little bit just to make it a little more moist. You don't want it too wet. Too wet means sticky, and sticky's not good for making pasta. But you don't want it too dry either. So you have to find that really nice balance, and hopefully that's what we found. And equal with all of them as I can be. So there's our egg. And we're going to do a little mixing. And this is the fun part. It does take a little bit of time. So as we keep mixing it, I think we are going to add a little bit of water. Just to be on the safe side. So with a bunch more stirring and a little bit of water, we're getting real close to having us a nice ball of pasta or dough that we can make pasta with. So it's kind of an art form. I've been doing it for a bunch of years and I'm no expert by any stretch, but it tastes good when it's done. So we folded everything in and now we just got to make it into a ball. There we go. One ball of dough, ready to make noodles out of it. Ta-da! Now that's what hopefully the other four are going to look like. And we'll give this a pour. Next up, we're going to repeat the process with the baking powder, oil, and water mixture. And we're going to do the exact same thing, make a nice ball of dough. Flaxseed is next. You got to make sure it's ground flaxseed. It'll work a lot better. And it really rolled into a nice ball. I thought it was very similar to baking powder and the egg mixtures. And there we go. Chia seeds are next. I found them somewhat interesting. It wasn't what I expected. They turned in almost gluey like. I wasn't sure it was going to mix. It did take a little extra water to even get it to mix. I kept having to go back to the well to pour a little more in. Eventually I got to the consistency I thought was going to be okay, but more on that later. Just let it sit for a few weeks and got it all wet if it had turned into a cheese. Finally, let's get on to the aquafaba. It still has a strong smell. I don't know when we get rid of that. Maybe once we mix it all, it won't be so bad. It does mix up fairly well, and I get it to about the consistency of the other ones. Out of all the chia and the flaxseed did. And there you go. And there you have it, the 5 balls of dough, ready to make pasta. Here we have, of course, I've got my pasta maker wired up to... So now the fun starts. Now we get to actually try and make pasta with the dough that we've made. So the first one is the egg noodle one, and I've done this a bunch of times. It takes a little bit of work to get it to going, but you know, once you get going, it's pretty cool. You can see that it goes from kind of rough looking into this nice long sheet of dough by the time you're at the end of it. And we're going to cut that into smaller pieces to make it easier to handle and to make noodles out of. But that's what it should look like. And here's the smaller pieces I've cut them into. And we're going to run it through the other end of the pasta maker, and it's a cutter. And it'll actually cut it into nice little noodles that we can throw in the pot. So there you go. All right, so we ran into our first little snag with the flaxseed. Now, this is not even at the thinnest setting, and I'm sure you can see just how stringy it is. It's not sticky, but it's kind of stringy, almost like mozzarella. So the 5 different varieties. Here's what we've got. There's our noodles made with egg. Here's the baking powder, oil, and water. Over here is the kidney bean liquid, the flaxseed, and the chia seed. I can tell you right off the bat, I wouldn't do the chia seed. It's all sticky, and what noodles I could get are still unfortunately, they're a big glob of dough. The best one, by far, instead of using an egg, the best one for sure was the baking powder one. Absolutely, beyond a shadow of a doubt. A not bad second is the flaxseed oil. Obviously, the chia just doesn't work. And the bean liquid, while I can see how it could be a binding agent when you're making noodles, it was almost as difficult as the chia seed. So baking powder is my first choice. Now we're going to cook them up and see how they taste. So now we come to the cooking time. We're going to get this pasta all cooked up. So we're going to start with the baking powder noodles. We're going to boil them for 3 minutes. Then we're going to go on to the flaxseed, see how those cook up. After that, we're going to try the aquafaba, just to see. And then last but not least, we're going to get into the pot my lovely chia seeds and see if they can actually cook out of the mess that they are. We will find out. So now we took a little bit of each one that I did and cooked them up just to see how they compared. Now, I didn't do the egg noodles. I've cooked a billion egg noodles, and I'm sure you have too, so they're pretty straightforward. So let me take a look here. I'm going to go from worst to best. The worst is the chia pet flour. As you can see, I had a hard time doing it. It took me quite a long time to even clean out my pasta maker. But as you can see, this is the best of the best. It's pretty clumpy. Now, I should tell you that each one of these I cooked for 3 minutes by themselves on boiling water. I'm sure you know how to cook pasta. So I tried to make it as consistent as possible. So this is what this ended up as. The next one is the kidney bean juice, which is right here. Now, it looks pretty good, but it's still pretty sticky. And, I don't know if you can really tell, but it cooked, but it stayed clumpy. So I wasn't really a fan. The next one that is okay is the flaxseed oil. Now, the flaxseed, it comes apart, and it's usable. Don't get me wrong, it's usable, but it wasn't the best. The best was the baking powder. And the baking powder, the consistency, the way the noodles came out, the way they cooked up, is almost identical to an egg noodle. So let's recap. Once they're cooked, taste-wise, they all tasted pretty well the same. There wasn't a whole big difference between one or the other. So they're all good. Now, as for what I would use again, the ground flaxseed, that worked. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. The chia and the kidney bean juice, it worked, but it was real gooey. It wasn't the best. Now, the best was the baking powder. The baking powder, water, and oil worked phenomenally. It was about as close to an egg without being an egg as I could find. It rolled out great. It tasted great. There really wasn't a whole lot of difference I could find between the two. So, in the future, if I don't have eggs and I've got to make pasta, I know exactly what I'm going to do. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like what you see, think about hitting the subscribe button. Maybe hit the bell. That'll notify you the next time I upload a video. If you have any ideas, comments, leave them in the comment section below. And we'll see you next time. Bye for now.